Okay, we're going to begin with board questions and discussion. I believe our student directors have a few questions. So we'll start off with Director Al Olefi.
I have one quick question. What year do you hope to have all of these completed? Is it in 4 years, or more realistically, can you see it happen in about 6 years, or maybe less?
No, we plan on enacting things now. If we could go back to the green slide. You can see the initiatives that are currently in place, and then it has the year in which the students will be graduating. And those are our expectations to get to that level for all of those initiatives. So each of them has a rollout. None of them exactly start at this moment. We already have things in place. We would like to make some additions so that we could see some success sooner.
Okay. Director Jimenez, do you have a question?
I have no questions, but at the your comment about student input, I highly support that. I really think that is something we need to work on as all of our high schools and middle schools. That is really important, and we really need that. I think most of the improvements that we see right now is due to student input. So just.
We agree, and it is something that we put as one of our 3 cornerstones, and we want at least 25% of the student population that represents the demographics of each site to participate in giving us student input so that we could really tease out the most important information from the most important people on campus, the students.
Okay, yeah, please.
I'd like to know how much high school students from all the OUs, the high school students, are in an internship. Do you guys have that number by any chance?
I am making eye contact with my internship coordinator, and she's on her way. This is Susan Benz, the manager of career readiness for the Link Learning Office.
Good evening, thank you. The number of students in internships is probably somewhere between 500 and 700 across the district. And there are multiple programs that run internships. So between Met West, Life High School, our ECHO program, I'm guessing 500 to 700. But we have a very hard time gathering that data, and it's a data point that we need to start zeroing in on. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan. Sure.
Okay, board members, any questions? Director Torres?
So with regard to this last slide about how we're going to get to our goals, my concern, and I've been reaching out to different schools to meet with parent organizations, and just yesterday I spoke with a vice president of one of the groups, and she was urging how desperately she needs help even starting the parent organization at her school, which is in my district, and that parents want to be involved and want to ensure that things are being done equitably at the school. A lot of changes happening in that neighborhood in this particular school, and so things are shifting. But I'm wondering where that fits on this, for instance, maybe under student support. But I think when parents that I do meet at schools I go to since January, I meet parents who are at everything. When I go to a school, I see the same face, and they care about all the kids at that school, not just theirs. And they become part of the landscape. So I'm just wondering if that's part of this final slide of what you need more of, because that's really a critical piece, I think, those parents.
So we don't always identify our adults on campus as parents, because sometimes we have families where it's not the parent, it may be a cousin, it may be an aunt, it may be an uncle. So we consider those all community members. So expanded community partnerships was our creative way of stating that we want adults who are deeply vested in the communities and schools that we have to participate in the development and continued success at each of our sites.
So to follow up then, for instance, this woman is trying to start this particular group at this elementary school. Would we then be given the proper, is there someone already in place that for all the schools that have groups that are trying to form, because apparently this isn't even unusual, I'm finding at my District 5 schools, that there aren't already organized groups, because parents obviously that are leaders leave when their kids leave. So is there someone already in place that they could talk to do that?
So within our family community partnerships department, there's a lot of work that's going on to support this, and we certainly recognize the critical piece of that partnering with families plays in student success. So I don't know if you want to just mention
I'd like to invite
resource.
Raquel Jimenez from our Family Community Partnerships Office to speak to some of the parent engagement activities and development activities that they are engaged in.
Hi, good evening. So engaging families in our high schools is one of the things that we're also working on this year through our regional Parents Raising the Bar Parent Leadership Series, where we're actually offering trainings to parents so that they can reach out to other parents and begin to organize themselves at a site-based level. So again, that's called Parents Raising the Bar. We're in week 4 of our 8-week series class. For this fall, we'll have another 8-week series in the spring, and they're happening in each of the regions. And because we do not have a high school family liaison, each regional liaison is also including high school families in these classes. So those regional liaisons, once again, Region 1 is Sarah Nuno, Region 2 is Ray Bermudez, Region 3 is Andre Spearman.
Thank you. Madam Vice President?
First, I want to actually thank the entire team, but really single out Mr. Benson. Thank you very, very much for your presentation, what was heartfelt, and really the eloquence in which you spoke. That I saw you actually working from notes, that you were telling us a complete story. You also invited and provided recommendations. And so I really appreciate, again, the thoroughness of what you did in the organization and what you had in doing this. Because it's not always easy to do public speaking in any kind of way, and especially around personal, emotional things. So your organization, again, was just very, very effective. One of the things that I noted that Mr. Benson talked about that I didn't really capture from your slides, folks, was around, and there's sometimes there's language around cultural appropriateness and things like that, but Mr. Benson actually made a very clear comment and statement about the teaching force, and the teaching force reflecting and looking like him. And so what I heard was that race matters in our schools and in our classrooms. And so if our high schools, which are predominantly serving Black and brown children, I don't see anyone on a teaching OEA level standing with you on your team. They may exist, I'm not really sure. But where are they, and in particular, where is their commitment? Because what we know right now is that we don't have a teaching force that reflects Mr. Benson, nor reflects Mr. Benson's recommendation. Because he was very, very clear. I need to be in a classroom where someone actually feels me, understands me, and knows how to teach me. So I did not, when you all talk about what you were gonna do, I didn't see anything to that echoed what he said. So I hope that, that recommendation will find itself somewhere in the much needed work that you talk about going forward. And I did want to also just acknowledge another thing that Mr. Benson said, and this is, I love my system, I'm not slamming it, but he talked specifically actually about all the many caring adults, a principal, KT. He talked about his English teacher, Ms. Hamblin, who we have had the good presence of mind to actually move into being a principal at McClymonds. And so I push you, but I want to really acknowledge that he saw what you were doing, Mr. Taylor, on campus in terms of nurturing a teacher, allowing her to be in a leadership role, you yourself stepping up into more leadership, and allowing her to step into leadership, which has really allowed him tonight to step into the next path around leadership. So I know we have it and we do it, and I just think that we need to magnify it that much more. So the very last, maybe I just need to keep pushing on that like race matters, and that we have to localize race in some kind of real way inside of our school district in this racial equity conversation. And so I would like to challenge and not direct, this team to really do some work. When you talk about the professional development work, that you really kind of look at doing some of the racial equity work that I believe is really needed. Because some of the training that I just recently went through said it really doesn't matter about poverty. It really doesn't matter whether or not your parents had, or have a lot of money. Some of these environmental things, in particular for African American children, it's something else that's going on. So I think we just have to be really honest and clear about that. So those are my comments, but of course I thank you so very much for your work and whatever ways that I can be supportive, and especially to you, Mr. Benson. Congratulations and good luck in your senior year.
Thank you, Director Hodge. We do accept your challenge.
Director London.
Hi, thank you all very much for your presentation and your hard work. I know there are a lot of people behind all of you making this happen, particularly at our schools, so please share with them our deep appreciation. I had a question about the industry partnership councils. Maybe you can clarify for me, Ms. Livesey. Are those district-wide? I know that we think about our academies by type, or are they at each school? And it's my hope, well, I'll let you answer.
Please tell me your hope before, no, I'm kidding. So what we've discovered is that in the past we have relied on pathway teachers and leads to find their own industry partners. And some pathway leads and teachers are very skilled at doing this. They don't mind picking up the phone. They know somebody who's a lawyer. They know somebody who's an engineer, and they have a network. What we want to do is to take away that, not take that job away, but to alleviate that work from the pathway level, and instead have these partnership councils at the district level of higher level CEO, CFO type folks, HR folks, who can then deploy pathway level advisors to our advisory boards.
Perfect, thank you. So this to me is a really important equity lens that every school have access to. For example, I know several years ago I helped the district enter into a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in Region 9. I don't know if we're still using that to place interns at their office in San Francisco. They also have a field testing station in Richmond. If you need help renewing that relationship, let me know. But it was my hope that it wouldn't just be the students at Oakland High who got access to that, but the students at every school, particularly the Castlemont School, because I think the program that Mr. Bremner is running there is really relevant. The last thing I want to focus on is the very last slide where Mr. Taylor, you identified the resources that you need. And at this point, because we have a lot of new people in the audience tonight who aren't usually here, I just want to state what my colleagues have heard me state many times before. In California, people, and I hope everyone in the room, regardless of why you're here tonight, could just stop for a minute. In California, we are funding education at a per pupil level that is $3,000 per student below the national average. If you go to the average state in this country, they are spending, on average, $3,000 more per student. And many of the things on this list could be easily accomplished if we had that $3,000. That's the average. If you go to other states like New Jersey or Connecticut or Massachusetts, they are spending $6,000 more per student. And this amount, in California, more than 80% of our budget comes from the state. So this is a decision that our state makes collectively when we elect people to Sacramento and when the legislators develop the budget. So I just want to put it out to us as a community that we need to exert pressure across the state. It doesn't matter if your child is in a publicly funded charter school or in a district school. Our students in California are being shortchanged to the tune of, at minimum, $3,000 per kid. And I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to once again step onto my soapbox. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Questions, comments? Director Harris.
Kevin Taylor, thank you for your work, man. Could you speak to a little bit about how you're using and revising the TSA process at Castlemont and Fremont to address some of these collaboration time issues, professional development?
Well, with the board priority schools, we have selected to do some do difference. And with those do difference, we will have an instructional coach that will participate in not only coaching, but will participate in instruction in both math and English at all 3 of the sites. Each 3 of the principals also has a mentor. If we could go back to the green slide. Okay. Sorry, I was looking this way. So we have the instructional support. We have the principal support. We also have a cohort who meets with me. So all 3 of the principals meet with me, and we have founded instructional leadership teams. And the reason why instructional leadership teams are so important is so that whatever initiative we have in place, that we have distributed leadership to take up the initiative and carry it out. Without that, we're dependent upon individuals. And when we depend on individuals, we have some transiency where if an individual is to leave, we will not be able to continue on and see the initiative all the way through fidelity. So with those in place and the additional supports of having LCI coaches who come in and support the schools. We're doing walkthroughs on a weekly basis. I personally am at all 3 of the sites at least one time a week to support each of the principals, and I'm meeting with them on a regular basis, and I invite any board member to come walk any of the sites with me. I've already had that taken up by several of you, and I would appreciate if any more of you would like to come join me in walking some of the sites and discussing what we see going on.
And just want to thank you again, my brother. Keep on keeping on. And your work is not done yet, man, so you got more work to do. And just to piggyback on what Director Hinton Hodge said, you said race matters. I think race is everything. Myself, as a young African-American student, I was a young black student. I don't really use that term African-American, because that's what I was as a black kid who really felt disconnected from teachers. And until I had an African-American teacher in my class to validate me as a young man and to show me that there was another way to be other than the people I crossed on the street, I was not validated as a man. And so we must embrace that, and it's not that race simply matters. It is that our Latino and black boys and black girls and Latino young women, if they do not see a positive example that looks like them, every day they come to school, they have more of a chance of failure. So we must accept that. Even though we don't see teachers coming into our pipeline in the numbers we would like, we need to be just absolutely rigorous about the way we recruit and try to go after teachers of color, to teach at MAC, to teach at Castlemont, and those white teachers that are there, to engage them in levels of professional development that allows them to see what it means to come through these neighborhoods and what it means to experience life as a young black child, as a young Latino child. And until we do that, we will not have done our due diligence and due service to these children.
Okay, any other board members? If not, I have a couple. Excellent, because I'm going to be directing my comments to the superintendent. So just a couple of things. First is well, let's say 3 things. First is I deeply appreciate the creation, and I think we as a board need to affirm these what is billed as stretch goals. I think that those are ambitious goals, but not crazy goals, right? But if we accomplish them, we're a trendsetter, not to mention affecting real people's lives. And so I really, really appreciate these stretch goals. It's 4 years from now, and we can watch this class and step by step, semester to semester, year by year. So with that, I just wanted to raise 2 points. One is I would like to see this stuff get played out at a school site. And so given that we have identified the 3 priority schools, Castlemont, Fremont, and McClymonds, when we go forward, when we do the adoption of the site plan in the spring, I would like to, not unlike what we're about to do after this with charter school applications, I would like to see a full tilt presentation of each of those schools' site plans, and to be able to look at how the plans get played out in terms of this framework out here that's been presented. So that being one. The second is the issue about the resources that Mr. Taylor had outlined here in this presentation. So I editorially completely agree with Director London about the state and national picture. And at the same time, I think we can't allow that to paralyze us. And so that, yeah, and I think we all agree with that. And so there are 3 things that I think we as a board and with the superintendent need to consider. So in the special committee on results-based budgeting, we're tackling about how we're going to implement local control funding formula. So the issue, I think actually the superintendent raised 2 important resource concerns or questions posed to the committee. Number one, our high schools, should we not designate high schools as part of a differential allocation in monies? Meaning high schools get more given the board's priority, given the kinds of complex developmental needs that young people, high school students have. So we need to really wrestle with that and wrestle with that real soon, or now. The second is the issue about, while it's not quite directly pinpointed on race, but the issue about effective teaching. I have found people have not considered the role of race and culture as being a important tool for effective teaching. And so as we go forward in our contract negotiations, the issue about how we are able to identify teachers who are effective and figuring out ways to voluntarily deploy teams of effective teachers and teacher leaders into our high-need schools that could be a boost of leadership and cohesion that we cannot do or we're not doing in the present way. And so it is both a funding and perhaps a collective bargaining issue for us to grapple with. We need to do that right away. We're not going to make so that's our contribution to the 4-year goal in terms of the board. We've got to grapple. And then the last thing is around raising the amount of money. So I'm going to put out there right now, with that, it's not a proposal, but just a concept, is 2010, this board put on a ballot measure, Measure L. It would have raised $21 million for employee compensation. We lost by about 400 or 500 votes. I believe this city would support, to the extent that Oakland Unified School District has a clear, reasonable, coherent plan to dramatically boost high school graduation in the city, in every single high school, that I believe that the people of Oakland would support a local investment for that. And so whether it's next year or it's in 2016, I believe that we need to have an eye towards that. It's yet another option for us around more resources. I believe this board needs to really super duper step up to being able to champion that. Was there a third? That's it. So we've got a lot of work to do with the superintendent, the team, Kevin Taylor and his team. I think, for me, a very inspiring presentation, and it's not fluff, it's real, and I appreciate it. It's well thought out. Yes, Director Torres.
So what came up for me, and something that I didn't mention earlier, which is that we got a rough number of who is in an internship based on the student director's question, and since a lot of this discussion has been about race, and previously, since you were already here in the audience, you heard from a young student, a young lady that's behind you, Mr. Taylor, wanting more challenge and rigor so she can get to Yale and Harvard like those other students we heard from. And so my goal would be to find out and break down the numbers, for instance, those 500 or 700 by race as well. And I had the unfortunate experience of walking into a classroom by accident at Tech last week looking for my daughter to give her lunch money, and came across a class at Tech of engineering students and not a single black student, not a single Latino student. But walking through the hall to get to the school was a very different picture than 100% white kids in an engineering class. So I was quite shocked when I walked into that classroom. So I'd be curious to know deeper the numbers of the interns, and being mindful and cognizant of getting diverse kids in careers that aren't diverse. Like my profession, the law profession, is one of the least diverse, and I see it every day in court. But having met with Lawrence National Livermore Lab, they said for 20 years they've been trying to move the dial on hiring Latinos, African Americans, and for 20 years they haven't seen it move. So there are people out there that want to partner with us, that want to see that move, want to see that change, want to give internships to our kids, and they want to stop working with San Ramon and Dublin. They've said that to me directly. So I want us to also be more targeted, that a young man is going to go to law school, or that a young Latina is going to go and become a doctor. We're importing doctors from other countries. That's ridiculous. So I want us to be more targeted around this issue of race and male teachers of color, because I would guess that that's a big issue for our African American and Latino boys, never having a male teacher of color. That's pretty significant, I think, too. I'd love to see all those numbers.
Thank you.
We will get you that information.
Go ahead.
We will get you that information as soon as possible, and it is a commitment of ours, but particularly my own, being an African-American male born and raised in Oakland and only having one African-American male teacher in my K-12 experience. I am thoroughly aware of the challenges that we face, and that is not something that our high school tactical team would be a part of, to have these pathways create some separatism. So we will fully commit to ensuring that our young black males, our young Latino males, our young Latina females, and our young African American females have the same access to those courses, and that they are represented demographically at each of their schools.
Excellent. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor and your team, and President Kakashiba and the rest of the board. Before I make my comments, I wanted to really appreciate Deputy Superintendent Santos for her leadership on this. As Board Member Torres mentioned, the balance between the academic rigor and the pathways, I would like to see if we can get the second or third slide that came up. I think this is where this discussion really needs to be, that we must keep going.
Yes, no, sorry. I'll get there, Gary. Dr. E.
Thank you. Here it is. This slide here is really the secret of the strategy. First of all, a robust college readiness core and a strong career academy pathway. So this is not tracking kids into voc ed, which is what we had 30 or 40 years ago. This is using career academies and pathways as a way to organize and structure curriculum, sharing among the adults, cohort-based instruction, where students stay together and they're known by their teachers, as well as A to G academic core. So as you saw on the other slide, our goal is 80% in college and career, but we actually have a 100% goal for A to G. So we are in the same place of both of those, and we don't do anybody any good if we're not moving both percentages up. Anyways, I just wanted to, as I said, appreciate Deputy Santos and to see if she had any comments about the presentation, or maybe even some perspectives from her work leading all of our schools.
Thank you, Dr. Yee, President Kakashiba, and directors. As we think about this work, one of the key things that we pay attention to is the skills and capacities that that students bring into our high schools, as well as the environmental factors and stressors that impact their lives. And the blending of these two impact significantly the kind of starting place for students. But what we are creating in Oakland is a world of opportunities and a world of high expectations. And as the title of this presentation speaks, which we actually didn't spend a lot of time on it, but what we are about is eliminating the expectation gap. That it is about having high expectations for each and every one of our students and affording them a unique set of opportunities that will amplify their perspectives, their aspirations, but that also will build their skill sets. And we know that to do that work, we need to invest heavily in high school, that we have been putting in place a number of initiatives that we have been attending to, that this board has funded, but that we know that our students need much more to fully graduate all of them. We also know that in this district, we are holding on to students into their 5th and 6th year towards graduation, that we have said to ourselves as a community that even though we look at 4-year graduation cohort rates, we're not letting you go until you graduate with a diploma that's meaningful and with a set of experiences that opens up perspectives and opportunities for you. So we appreciate the attention, the support, and we encourage all of our community to fully embrace this work that we are doing in Oakland Unified and join us and join our high school community as well.
Thank you, Superintendent Santos. And just a couple of points of reference. Mr. Taylor, do you know how many 9th graders we actually have enrolled this year?
No, the seniors.
The total number of 9th graders, I believe, is around 2,200, something like that.
It's something like that. We have the number on one of our slides.
Okay. Well, I believe I saw an earlier version. I think it was 2,200 some students. It's really 9th grade students, I'm sorry. Is that right?
Yes.
And so it's really incumbent upon the board and each of us in the community to commit ourselves to all 2,200 students and follow them through the 4th, 5th, and 6th year until they're finished. That's the first thing. The second is President Kakashiba mentioned is he would like to see the plans for the 3 priorities high schools. The board might appreciate the fact that each of those schools is currently going through their WASC accreditation report. So in the springtime, we'll have a very thoughtful and complete review of those schools as well as what they need. And finally, I'm very provoked as a citizen and a resident of Oakland. I'm provoked and challenged by the commitment for local funding for this initiative. And if the board would so like, I could ask staff to prepare a proposed budget on what it might take to actually have the kinds of schools that we can confidently say will graduate every student, if that's the wish of the board.
Does that sound good to people?
Great. And
it would help to inform that. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
And then lastly, I think I really am proud of the board for its focus on race mattering, and I do know that it does matter. At the same time, I'm thinking of the schools that I go out to visit at Castlemont, McClymonds, Fremont, Skyline, Tech, and I'm struck by the high quality of teaching of many of our teachers, many of them who are not black or brown teachers. And I'm hoping that the board, when it affirms the importance of race as race as a model, race as an expression of the confidence of the culture in its own folks, that is in no way an indictment of the commitment and the hard work of every effective teacher in our schools. And I just want to especially lift up the two math teachers that I personally know at McClymonds, Ms. Howell and Mr. Riskola, who are both pretty white, and who have demonstrated commitment to the school in powerful ways. They haven't left the school, they fought through it, they're making a difference at the school, they're learning, and especially Ms. Hall took a whole class on a summer experience with Project Lead the Way this summer. So let's look for effective teaching wherever it may be, and if the teachers are teachers of color, we celebrate them in a special way. But that's my responsibility as the superintendent to say all of our staff, we hold to the same high expectation.
Okay, I believe Director Jimenez has one last question.
So this is a question for the future, but also for today, I believe. So how do we ensure that these pathways, so let's imagine that we do get these pathways to the ideal place. So how do we sustain those pathways? Because right now, we're talking about like the academies, for example, at my school, they haven't been, I believe, like when they were, constructed, they were supposed to be sustained in an ideal place. So we get these pathways. How do we keep them to be in that ideal place over time, contrary to what we have seen in the past?
Thank you for the question. It's going to take a reimagining of how we design high schools. It's going to take a reallocation of funding to be able to extend our school day so that kids have more time to access career and technical education courses if they're also behind in one of their academic courses. It's going to take very creative scheduling so that teachers who are working together can have common prep periods so that they can work as a team and develop their community of practice and really hold their cohort of students. We need to have a better options process so that students in the 8th grade who have gone through a career exploration program can identify which high school they want to go to so that they enter a program that they're committed to and will stay in, so that the enrollment numbers stay up and so that we can have teachers who can stay together for those programs. So it's going to take a lot of effort on the adult side to make sure that those pathways, once they're up to strength and are rolling well and are quality, that we can maintain that.
Yes, go ahead.
I have one more question. I wanted to know, so I'm a big fan of internships. I love my internship.
I can see your champs.
And when I hear about other students and how they don't have an internship or they never heard of one, my advice to them is like go look for one for yourself. But they don't usually know how to do that. So I was wondering, because I know some schools are way too big to have every student have internship as of now. Would you guys be able to teach the students how to, send out emails, possible people who would give them internship or train the teachers to give a lesson on that or something like that, so that if they don't have the internship they need, they know how to look for one, at least, with your help. You know, like everybody connects. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Absolutely.
will you guys do that?
Yes, and you bring up an incredible equity goal, right? Really, every student in high school should have the experience of going out into a work-based learning experience. It changes lives, right? We heard that very powerfully from every student who spoke this morning at Life Academy, right? It was getting off campus and interacting with an adult and changing your mindset so that you can really see yourself as a professional in the future. So it's our goal that all students have that opportunity. Our Exploring College and Careers Options program, which is now going actually at all 3 pathways at Fremont. Teachers are being trained, and there's a curriculum that students can go through that will teach them how to write an email properly, how to reach out to adults, how to conduct themselves, the 21st century skills that they need. So we are focusing on that. Also with the college and career plans that we're initiating with 9th graders, that digital plan is actually connected to the Exploring College and Careers curriculum on our ConnectEd studios, and I can send you information if you'd like more about it. But students, even independently, will be able to look at that curriculum and be able to get themselves an internship if it happens that they're not getting the support to get the one they want. Okay. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you.